Welcome, my homies, to the Please Do Tell podcast, where age is just a number and stories know no bounds. I'm Ronnika, your millennial storyteller, here to bridge the generation gap one captivating narrative at a time. In each episode, we embark on a journey together, exploring shared experiences, heartfelt connections, and the timeless art of storytelling. From the wisdom of baby boomers to the perspectives of Gen Z. There's a tale for everyone in our diverse tapestry of human experiences. So grab your favorite beverage, settle into your comfiest chair, and prepare to be swept away by tales that resonate across generations. Get ready for insights, laughter, and moments that remind us of our shared humanity. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. Now, without further ado, let the storytelling begin. Hey, my homies, and welcome back for another episode of Storytelling. We are in the month of July. It means we are also in the third quarter of the year. The joy of starting something new and relief of stopping activities that no longer serve you. Hopefully that's usually what July means for me. But today the stories are full circle moments that usually happen to me during the month of July. Are you ready? Let's do this. Okay. I may be painting my nails during I may or may not. It depends on how good the story gets. And I've also written it down so I don't miss any parts. Dean Winston from A Different World when talking to Ron Johnson. Ron stated that Hillman is a black school with black students and the subject we know the least about is black history. Dean responds with the study of history is not just a black thing. An educated man knows many civilizations. So the mini story for you today is about how dreams are delayed, but not denied. This is a full circle moment from undergrad to adulthood. So sit back and get ready. So I'm excited to share a personal story with you that came full circle for me from my days as an undergrad at Western Michigan University to a dream come true in my adulthood. Now, y'all, back in my undergrad days, which were, and I don't even mind telling you, it was exactly 20 years ago, I took a class that profoundly impacted me. The course was about ancient civilizations, and I vividly remember sitting in that classroom, captivated by tales of the pyramids, the Aztec Empire, and the Mayan ruins. Our professor painted such a vivid picture of these magnificent structures and the rich histories behind them that I could also see them in my mind's eye. I used to daydream about what it would be like to stand in the shadows of the pyramids, to walk along the ruins of the Aztec and Mayan civilizations, and to feel the weight of history under my feet. Those lectures ignited a passion in me for exploring and understanding the past, and I promised myself that one day I would visit these incredible places. So fast forward 20 years and that dream became a reality. Life had taken many turns since those college days, but the longing to see those ancient wonders never faded. I found myself standing before the pyramids, feeling awestruck by their grandeur. The sense of history and the culture was overwhelming. I'm going to stop there and go back to and kind of start on why I'm even telling this story. You know what? No, I'm going to keep it going. Next, I journeyed to Mexico, where I explored the remnants of the Aztec Empire. Walking through those ancient sites, I felt a deep connection to the past, remembering those classroom discussions and how they sparked this adventure. It was a surreal, full circle moment, bringing my academic interests and personal dreams together. The experience reminded me of the power of education and the importance of holding on to our passions and dreams, no matter how long it takes to achieve them. So let me tell you all about Mexico. I was blessed to be a chaperone on the inaugural trip for Reunited Travel, which is, I'm just going to read what it is. So Reunited Travel, and I'm definitely going to include the link in the show notes. We empower students' lives. Reunited Travel is a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization that provides immersive overseas travel opportunities for deserving youth in underserved communities. Our team is made up of a diverse group of volunteers who, through travel, have developed a broader worldview, social consciousness, and empathy to all those around them. 100% of every trip is provided at no cost to participants. These trips are entirely funded by the generosity of our donors, from airfare and ground transportation to activities and all meals. This ensures that students incur no expenses. Donations are vital to our organization, enabling us to continue offering these valuable experiences. I believe I told you probably a little bit of the story, but in junior high, so that's what we called it. I think it's now middle school, but in junior high, we were eighth grade. Every year, Mr. Don Pearson would take his eighth grade class on a trip, and it would be a historical tour somewhere around the United States. So my seventh grade year, the eighth graders went to Boston. And then my year, we went to New Orleans. We were able to go to the Dookie Chase restaurant. We went to numerous cemeteries. We were on Bourbon Street. There were some things that I still remind Mr. Pearson of that I saw that day that he told me never to tell my mother, because we were out there a little late. And Bourbon is what it is. It's Bourbon Street in New Orleans. And my friend from seventh grade, who I met in seventh grade, Sean wanted to revamp that program, but make it bigger and better. So Sean is actually in the Chicagoland area, and he had this great idea that turned into reality. And I just think about a year ago in May, we were in Chicago, not too far, I believe, from the Cubs Stadium. And he was on stage and he was presenting to this crowd of supporters that this was going to be his new path. So fast forward April of this year, I believe it was April of this year, we had returned from celebrating Demita's surprise. If you don't know who Demita is, stick around because, she's a heartbeat. But if you don't know, you might need to listen to past episodes. So we were returning from her, I believe it was her birthday. And Sean asked me, would you be open to being a chaperone? I know that you have experience working with young people. I think it would just be a really good experience for both of us. And I would just love for you to be a part of the trip. And I thought, oh gosh, it's been a couple years since I worked with young people. And then, of course, I was also thinking, I don't know any of these young people. Doesn't matter. I guess it really doesn't matter. So there were numerous meetings. We were able to meet with the parents and guardians of these young people that would be going on the trip. And every week getting excited, more and more excited about what we were going to be doing in June. June comes around. I get to Chicago the night before we leave, which I believe it was Saturday night. I believe it was, we left on a Sunday. Yeah. So I got to Chicago on a Saturday. I spent the night with my best friend, Chantel. And then Sean met us at Chantel's house. When I say early, like 5 o'clock in the morning. I think I set my alarm for 4. I think that was probably the fastest I've ever gotten ready. Because it was sooner than 5 o'clock because I had to be to the meetup spot before then. What is going on? You see the flies? All right. So we get in the shuttle. We get in our Uber. We head to the airport. Well, no, we head to the meetup spot for all the parents and guardians to drop off their young scholars and for me to meet the other chaperones and all of that. 3.5 hour flight from Chicago to Mexico City. And I just thought, okay, I've only been to Mexico once, and that was to Cabo, and that was a resort. So I think we probably left the resort maybe once to go to a restaurant, but other than that, we were at the resort. We arrived to Mexico, and our this was the first time where I've gotten to the airport and there's someone holding a sign to pick you up. I always see that in the airport. I'm like, when will that be my turn? When? So we see Ellie, who was our tour guide for the week. She was holding the sign that says Reunited Travel. And we get on the shuttle bus and we make the ride to the hotel to drop off all of our things. Just and I it's plenty of footage on the Reunited page, Reunited Travel Instagram page, the website is now done. It's amazing. And of course my Instagram page. I was in awe riding through the streets of Mexico City. We arrived at our hotel and we our dinner location was maybe a 10-minute walk from the hotel. So we went there. I had my first time trying cow tongue. I don't think I'll ever try it again. I don't know if it was a little too chewy for me. I'm used to it being me being a little bit more firm, or maybe it could have been some other things. But yeah, other than that, listen, the food there was amazing. Here's what I really reflect on from college. I can remember being the only, and it was like this in many of my history classes at Western. I was the only black girl in that class. I remember the professor talking in detail, and I remember I would walk around even in my 20s. Like one day I'm gonna go to let me see if I'm gonna butcher it. To know teach. I pulled it up. It's okay. I would say that, oh, I want to go to these places that our professor always talked about. And here I was in the center of what most of those lectures used to be about. The first night, and even the second night, sat with the chaperones after the young people were, the curfew had been set for, I think, like 10 o'clock, 10:30. They had to be in their rooms and just sat and took it all in. First of all, before going on this trip, I was preparing for building the Story Salon website. So I had to be on call. And it just so happened to be the week that they were building the site is the week that I was in Mexico City. So just imagine me trying to communicate, trying to find service, all of that. But before that, it was a lot of reflection for me because it's been a lot of seasons this year. I mean, we've only had a couple, but it's been a lot of times this year where I feel like, what in the heck am I doing? Is God even in the middle of what I'm doing? I know that this podcast is starting to reach more people, and I'm so grateful for that, especially for those that have been sharing it with their networks. But I felt defeated. I felt like, my gosh, I'm in this new decade of my life. What am I doing? Just what is happening, right? And I sat downstairs with Sean and we were laughing. We were reminiscing about memories of both of our fathers who are now ancestors and the lessons that were taught to us and how there's certain things within us that just stick. But it was still hard for me to really think about, like, okay, once I go back home, what am I going to do next? Just, I felt like I was almost drowning, like I didn't have any direction. And I'll get back to the activities that we did, but I want to say that the final night that we were there, we were having dinner. It was the young scholars were at one table. The chaperones were at another. And Sean said to the group, which I could so identify with, he said, this has been, and we've talked about this even before the trip, but it was like really sealed by the end of this trip. He said to me, this is a season in my life where I'm just living off of my savings. And I've been applying for jobs and I'm not getting any bites. And I sat there, because he said it before, but it was at the end of the trip that you're like, it hit me differently. When we talked on the phone about it, because we're both in the season of building 501c3s. And where the fund's going to come in, our donor's going to come in. Is it clear on what I'm actually doing? What do I need to do more of? Am I allowing people to help? And when he said that, I thought, I am not alone. So many times we sit in isolation because we feel like no one else is going through what we're going through. And that's why I really hold on to stories. And I feel like the older I get, the more I'm sharing and I'm understanding that so many people have went through similar situations and we can pull from each other's strength and help each other in those weak areas. So let me tell you about these young people. They will be entering the 9th grade in the fall. Didn't want to call them students anymore. We totally was like, okay, scholars. They are young scholars. They are exploring. They are engaging. Didn't have to take away phones or anything because they were attentive. They were just really absorbing everything. We were saying like little sponges. They were hanging on to everything. When we were outside of the pyramids, and I sat there and I thought, as I looked around, I thought, this is what my professor talked about 20 years ago. And being in that classroom and saying, I want to go there one day. So I would always get mixed up. So I'm just going to know Tenoch Titlan, not to be confused with where the pyramids are, which is, of course, I lost it on the page. I'll come back to that. But if you want to look it up, the Mexico City, and we went to the pyramids. So we're outside and we're looking around, and I couldn't also help but think is that Mexico has done a magnificent job of preserving their history. And I was inspired because I thought, gosh, it's so many stories about family and history that none of us know about that I'm excited to share. So that was one thing that was very inspiring. So we do the activities of the pyramids. Tuesday I missed because I got sick. So there's this thing, let me sidebar. There's this thing called Montezuma's Revenge. And Ellie told us the first day. Now I will tell you this. We did have a medical doctor on the trip with us. She was one of the chaperones, which definitely put us all at ease. So as we're traveling from the airport to the hotel, Ellie's telling us the story of just how they came up with Montezuma's Revenge. And she was saying, just do not drink any of the water because you will experience what we call Montezuma's Revenge. And we were just like, that sounds bad, right? Full day one, chaperone down at the pyramids. Day 2, chaperone down, could not leave the hotel. And I kept thinking, I didn't drink any water. I don't remember any ice being in my drinks. So I'm in the hotel feeling just horrible. I said, this must be what Montezuma's revenge feels like. And I'm texting with the heartbeats. I didn't tell my mom because I didn't want to freak her out. I just didn't. And one of Demita said to me, well, did you eat any soup or salad? I said, I definitely had soup, and you know I'm not really a soup girl, but I wanted to try it there. And she said, that's probably what did you in. And then she said, did you have any ice in your drinks? And I was like, no. And then I thought about the night before. I said, oh, wait. Yep. When it was just the chaperones, definitely had ice in my drinks. Yep. That's probably what happened. Because I caught myself being cautious and using the bottled water to even brush my teeth. But it's okay. Wednesday, I got back out there and I was ready to be with the group. And it was really sweet because the young scholars were, it didn't feel the same without you yesterday. They just made me feel so welcome back to the group. So I did lose a day in Mexico City. And that was the day I believe they went to the castle, which they said was a lot of walking, which would have just totally did me in. So Wednesday we went to the lagoons, and it was really cool to be in these boats, and you have people rowing on the side of you, selling you things. I do have a ring that I have, and I forgot to bring it. So I got a ring, a handmade ring. The kids had all these flower halos. They were buying those, and then we were serenaded by two bands as we were just rowing along, and it was just the coolest thing. So it was a great day that I was able to. Oh, it was a great thing that I was able to reconvene with the group that day, and then we had fabulous lunch. And then we went to the Freedom Museum. It was just a great day. So we knew by that night that the medical doctor would be leaving. And she said, I can say that it's been a great trip. I've really enjoyed the young people. And the only people I've really had to take care of is the adults. As I said, the good doctor left at, I think, 10 o'clock Wednesday night, 10, 11 o'clock Wednesday night. Thursday morning, a scholar comes down sick. I said, I said, okay, all right. So she was able to pull it together. She had some electrolytes. She drank some electrolytes, and we went back. We went to, I believe the mall was that day. Yeah, that was our last full day. Yeah, the mall. We did a lot. Our final dinner, that was all Thursday. So we're in the mall, no service. And there were two young scholars on this trip that were fluent in Spanish. Neither one of them were in my group. So you can just imagine, I'm walking around, no service. I'm just getting footage of the young people that are in my group as we're shopping, exploring, all of that. And then it starts raining, so that's just a whole nother story. But fast forward to our final dinner. And there was, as I'm sitting across from Sean, and Brandon, who's Mr. Bird, is one of the chaperones on the trip. And then there was Mr. Talley, who is actually the former teacher of these young scholars. You had Alan, who's also a part of the Reunited board, and then the photographer and videographer, which are Forrest and his wife, Hannah. And I already said something about Dr. Tabiti. I believe that's everybody. But I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. So Mr. Bird gets up, goes over to the young scholars table, and says that, hey, we have something for Mr. Sean. And some of them have written down their reflections of this trip, and some of them want to be able to say it directly to you. One of the young people that was in Sean's group for that day got up and said, for a lot of them, this was their first trip out of the country. So this was the first time they ever had a passport. This young man gets up and says, this experience has just been unbelievable. It's my first time being out of the country. And the one thing that I loved about being on this trip is hearing the laughter of Mr. Sean. Like, you could hear Sean's laugh from a mile away, and it is infectious. Like, it is. It's extremely contagious. Like, once he laughs, you're gonna laugh too. And he says to him, just like your dad said, it's the best thing about you. I hope you never change it. Or he said, his father said, like your father said, the one thing about you to never change is your laugh. And that young man said that is truly one of the best things about you. Sean starts crying. I start crying. The whole day was now crying. And it was like after that, I don't think he was the first one, but it started with the first young scholar, and then it just went from there. And one of the young ladies in my group slid me a note, which I was like, okay, cute. She slid me a note that said, I believe I took a picture of it because I said, if I ever lose this piece of paper, I want to still be able to have that letter. Make sure I get to it. I sat across from Sean, ugly, crying, as I'm looking through photos of like we went to Ripley's, believe it or not, as well. I sat across from him crying because I was able to witness God do something in a year. Now, we don't know how long Sean has been planning, all the time that went into even building reunited travel. But he did it. He did it. So I'm gonna just read the note from the students to all the chaperones. Thank you all so much for being with us for the duration of this trip. Duration. See, just little scholars. Without all of you, this trip would have not been possible. Thank you so much for your time and effort. I know we can be a little difficult sometimes, so thanks for dealing with us. Also, we'd like to give a special thanks to Mr. Talley and Mr. Carter, who is Sean, for giving us this amazing opportunity. We really appreciate all you've done. Love, the students. I am still in awe. Like, I feel like sometimes I'm not able to put into words everything I experience. As my friend Alicia said, she was like, I'm not always in a lot of photos because I'm just really trying to enjoy the experience. And that's another reason why I thank God that there was a videographer and photographer there, because I took pictures of where we were and everything, but me actually being in them on my phone, I don't have them because I was really tripping on 20 years ago. I was in a classroom listening to a professor talk about the pyramids, and I thought, when in the heck am I want to go there, but when in the heck am I going to go there? And then one of your oldest and dearest friends asks you to be a chaperone, asks you to lock arms and be a part of something that is truly changing lives. Sometimes I just have to sit with that. And as I was in the air on Friday, and so one of the board members had to sit in with the team that's building the Story Salon site and just answer questions and everything. But I sat on that flight and I thought, God, you're going to do it for me too. You gave me this vision. I cannot be afraid to do things. I cannot be afraid to ask. Even being bold enough. I was sending out sponsorship letters yesterday. I said, I'm gonna do this. This is it. This is it. But Sean, I I'm so grateful for not just that trip, but the experience of seeing something like that come true. Came back on Friday. We had a shuttle bus. First of all, let me tell you what let me quickly tell you what happened to me coming through customs, coming back into the US. So I was separated from the group. Sean was with all of the scholars. There were chaperones kind of in each line. So I was in this line by myself. And so the officer asked me, where you come from? I said, oh, we were just bringing a group of kids from, no, I said, oh, we were just bringing a group of young people from Mexico. And then I was like, wait. I said, wait a minute. Let me start over. I am a part, I was a chaperone for this organization called Reunited Travel, and we were able to take 15 young people to Mexico City for almost a week of exploring and just experiencing different culture. He looks and he says, is this, I said, this was our first trip. This is the first cohort that's going, and we are coming back. And I said, I just can't really say anything else about it. It was just a great experience. And he asked me, well, how can I get a part? First of all, he was cute. Let me say that. He was cute. So I didn't mind him asking me all those questions. He said, how can he be a part of it? How can he get involved? So the great thing is that once we arrived to the meetup spot, before going to Mexico City, Sean had yellow lanyards for all of us and his card. So if anybody ever got separated from the group, his card was in the lanyard. So I was able to give that officer his card, and I said, be sure to reach out and hopefully be a part of it by next year. We get on the shuttle bus. We get back to the meetup spot where all the parents and guardians are. And it's almost like a parade. I see pom-poms. They're screaming. They're excited. There wasn't a long wait for parents and chaperones, so clearly they were really excited to see their scholars to pick them up. And so after all the scholars were gone, it was just a few of us chaperones out there, and we were like, Sean, you did it. He said, no, we did it. Like we made that happen. I said, but it's your vision. Is something that God gave to you. And this was so successful. Like, really take a bow. I really want you to just take, even if it's a couple weeks or a week or so, and just decompress from everything that you experience. So we get in an Uber. We get back to Chantel's house because that's where my car was parked and that's where Sean's car was parked. I think that's where his car was parked. Yes, I believe his car was parked over there. And I get on the highway because I want to get in my bed. Get in my bed. Chantel brings my keys and everything out. And I hop in my car and I get on that I-94. And it's just something about when, I don't know what it is. And I'm not going to claim just anything evil. It's just me just being thankful for what I experienced. Because I remember when I came back from, I believe it was it Florida? Can't remember if it was Florida or Arkansas. And it started snowing as soon as I got to Michigan City traveling from Chicago. And then this time it was pouring down. And in between the area of Stevensville and St. Joseph is some serious construction going on here. So I was just worried about sliding off the road. But thankfully, I got home in one piece. And I can say that a place that I dreamed of going 20 years ago, I was there 2 weeks ago. And that is because I was in the right place at the right time. But no, seriously, it was because I have an amazing network I can really go. It's so many different stories and story times that can happen just from that trip. But I have an amazing network that has an amazing network that has an amazing network. And I'm grateful to be friends and family with the people that are in my life. I really am. So shout out to Sean and reunitedtravel.org, and looking forward to what's to come with that organization, because that trip and seeing what has happened has lit a fire under me to make sure that Story Salon is on the same page, which I can say that I am excited about. We will be doing a retreat for Story Salon, which will be next month, which my oldest friend, Jeffrey, who is on the board, he said, I need you to just take a step back and think about 1 year ago, we talked about retreat, and now we're actually planning one and we're actually doing one. So he said, you need to celebrate that. So I am celebrating all the wins. I'm not just letting them just kind of pass by like I usually do, because I'm usually the person like, okay, whew, graduated. What's next? I'm not really basking in the joy of what I've just accomplished. So I'm doing more of that in this season of my life. Also with Ronnika.com, which is also coming. So we'll talk about that in the next story time. But you all, that brings us to the end of another episode of Please Do Tell. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the power of storytelling. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to me and helps others discover the magic of Please Do Tell. And remember, if you have a story you'd like to share or any thoughts you'd like to express, I'm always here to listen. Feel free to reach out to me through our website or social media channels, which I said, well, Please Do Tell Podcast on Facebook and IG. And then I'm Ronnika.Williams on IG. And I mean, you could probably find me on Facebook too. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep exploring, and keep sharing your stories with the world. I'm your homegirl, Ronnika, and this is Please Do Tell.